Welcome to the channel. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Today we are looking at another watch from the relatively new brand on AliExpress, Militado. This is known as the ML06. It's a very recognizable design which we've seen again and again on AliExpress. We have San Martin, which provides us with possibly the best version, and it sits at around the £200 mark, although you can get some variants much cheaper in the clearance and the AliExpress choice deals. But for this video, I think the closest comparison I can make is with the version we had from Thorn. So we're going to see how this ML04 compares against the already unbeatable value for money offering by Thorn. First off, the price. It is quite close to Thorn. At around £118 currently, the Thorn has been as low as 80 or 90, but it generally sits at around £110. The specifications are also on par. We have a top hat sapphire crystal, and I'd say the Militado probably uses better AR versus the Thorn. You also have a 120 click unidirectional bezel fitted with a coloured aluminium bezel insert. Now, of course, it's a stainless steel watch with a stainless steel bracelet. It has a screw down crown and a screw down case back, giving an alleged water resistance rating of 200 meters. The bracelet is a faux rivet style with double-ended screws for removal, and the clasp, let's call it a traditional clasp. Now, the movement powering this watch is of course the Seiko NH35. It's an automatic movement from all the Seiko watches, and it's very reliable, and it's also very cost effective. Now, you'll notice the design I have is a dateless design, and they offer many other dateless versions. So it's a pet peeve of mine when they don't use the Seiko NH38, as you get a ghost position in this one. But they also do offer a date option, and with this watch being priced so low, I can overlook the ghost position. So you do have a total of 4 different configurations available, mainly on the bezel color, but the one I have is the only one with a black dial with white indices, complemented with a charcoal bezel. Now, I know the picture states grey, but it is quite a bit darker in person, but under this lighting you can see just that charcoal sort of grey coming out. Now, the watch dimensions are as follows. You've got a 38mm diameter, it's 13.4mm thick with a lug-to-lug of 46mm, including those female end links, and you've got 20mm lug width, which is pretty much the exact same as the one you get on the Thorn. And the finishing is also the exact same as Thorn. Having the actual Thorn model in hand, I can tell you the case and the bracelet are exactly the same. And as I previously mentioned, I rate the Thorn very highly, and also with this, the finishing can almost be compared to San Martin watches. The satin brushing is very fine. It's very consistent across the whole watch. You've got your brushed lugs, you've got your brush side profile, and you've also got a polished bevel along the edge of the case, which is very crisp in definition. So to reiterate, the finishing on this watch and the Thorn is well above the price point, which is probably the best part of these watches. Now, the dial color is a very deep and rich glossy black. You've got polished applied indices typical of this design, and the markers do stand out remarkably well against that black background. The printed minute track and the printed text on the dial is very crisp, it's very legible. The handset used is just the right proportion in terms of the dial, and the length is also spot on. You've got standard polishing, and there is a slight color mismatch between the color on the hands versus the color on the indices, but it's really not an issue, to be honest. The lume is also fantastic, equally bright on the hands and the hour markers, and you also get a lumed bezel insert. Now, the bezel insert is slightly dimmer than the dial, but still is very visible. So in this area, the Militado does beat the version from Thorn. Now, in terms of function, just have a quick listen while I play around with this bezel. So you'll notice there's a slight tinny sound coming from the clicks, and the rotation is also a lot stiffer, and the fine coin edge doesn't really help the grip. Also, the bezel is very solid, there is no playback or looseness. However, looking at the customer reviews on AliExpress, I think the bezel is quite inconsistent overall. A lot of people have reported many different things from the bezel rotation, and versus the Thorn, I do prefer the rotation of the Thorn. Now, there's another thing which I found very annoying, and it's not very user friendly, and that would be this weird crown. Now, while on the side it seems pretty fine, it's a really good diameter as well of around 7mm, but it is oddly thin, maybe around 2mm, which makes it very difficult to use, and it does look a bit silly. So you do lose some function here, as the threading is also a little stiff, adding to the awkwardness of this crown. There's also one more issue with this watch, and a few people have reported this, and I recall pretty much all the reviews that I left on AliExpress store stated that they all ended up replacing the clasp. A bit of good news there that an aftermarket on the fly adjustable clasp will fit, but the current clasp is flawed. So the tab at the end of the clasp is so close to the link that you actually can't get the edge of your finger underneath it. So it is a nail biter's nightmare. So you have to slightly force your nail underneath to actually get underneath it and allow it to open. But on wrist, it's going to wear exactly the same as the Thorn, as they are the same in dimensions and finishing. The only difference is that this particular monochromatic look is only available with this Militado, and that's the reason I chose it, because of this particular look. But I think that's the only thing going for it, as it does have a few issues which the Thorn does not have. And the Thorn is also available in an eye-catching steel bezel version. So I would say, as it stands, the Thorn is still the better option for overall build quality, but this does have a nicer, or should we say an unseen, colorway. Now by now many of you have probably got the Thorn version, and some of you may have this, so let the rest know your thoughts below in the comment section. And that's it for me today. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next video.